Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Agent Pursuit. Today we have a very special guest, Karl Stader, who is the founder of CIR Realty, and Karl has built an incredible company through some of the toughest economic times, and so we wanted to have Karl on to give us some incredible lessons of the past. Karl, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're so welcome. And where do you want me to start? I can start back in the old country.
That's right.
Yeah,
It was
just quickly.
Wintry day back in
in Germany.
Kidding.
No, actually, I would love to hear that, because I think so much of where we're from dictates how we make decisions in our perspective.
Yeah.
So just let's start with that. Where are you from? What did you do before getting into real estate?
Yes, I can tell you that.
Perfect.
Seems like it was yesterday.
Aww.
Yeah, and I was in Germany. I started working, finished school at 15, started working at 15 years old.
Wow.
And that was normal. You start an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only thing I could find was furniture making. So I started an apprenticeship in furniture making. And this lasted 3 years. And in Germany, you don't get paid while you're an apprentice.
Oh, wow.
Just some pocket money.
So are you just living at home and living off your family?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the apprenticeship is usually 3 years. And if you pass the exams and everything, then you become a journeyman. And I kept working as a journeyman. And where I worked was in Cologne, city of Cologne. There is a shipyard that builds ship and repairs ship that cruise the Rhine.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's where I worked at. Yeah.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then when did you decide to move to Canada?
Okay. I was working there for 5 years, and I looked at things, and I was very comfortable with my job and doing well. And I thought, no, this is something wrong. There's something too easy here. I was restless. I came from a family with eight children. Yeah.
Wow.
So we were 10 people in the house, and I'm the only one that showed some restlessness. And then a colleague of mine, he said, Karl, I think I'm going to go to Canada. And I started studying up on Canada, and I found it kind of interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, and I really got interested, and I wanted to go.
So how old are you at that point?
Pardon me?
How old were you at that point?
I was 20.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you came over right away?
I applied. They didn't really want me. They wanted farmers and so on. I was a tradesman. And so they say, yes, you can go, but you have to pay for your trip over and everything. We cannot, there's nobody to sponsor you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I had to pay for my ship, the journey there, over here, right to Toronto. Mm. I paid the train ride as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then what kind of work did you do when you got to Canada?
Okay. In Canada, I started working in Toronto, and I ended up with a house building company, and they needed somebody to put insulation in the wall, glass wall insulation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gross.
It was July. It was.
Oh, that's terrible.
It was very hot. And,
Yeah.
and it was not a nice job.
No.
Yeah.
And then obviously at some point you decided to come out west to Calgary and move again.
Yeah. The reason I did that, Toronto was big, and I said, I want something more adventurous. I came here for adventure, actually, not for economic reasons.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just to have adventure and experience something different.
That's interesting because some people say, I'm going to go to Toronto for adventure.
No, not me.
But I guess back when you would have came to Calgary, Calgary would have been very small. It still would have been a bit of the rugged West, so to speak.
When I came to Calgary, there were, I remember, the city was quite ambitious, and they were almost at 140,000 population.
That was it. 140,000 people.
Well, they weren't there yet, but they were working towards that.
Wow.
They had ambitions, yeah.
That is incredible. So to kind of jump into when you got into real estate a little bit. So what was I guess the first question would be, how did you get into real estate? But I'm also curious, do you know what the population of Calgary was at that time? Had it grown a lot?
When I got into real estate?
Yeah, in Calgary.
I'm not sure. It had grown a lot.
Yeah, because I know that there was that period where Calgary just went like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, Calgary now 1.2, 1.3 million.
We are at 1.5.
Really, probably a
Yes.
greater area. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so what was the transition? Were you building homes here?
Yes. Okay. When I came to Calgary, well, before I went to Calgary, I stopped in Winnipeg.
Okay.
And I looked it over, and I walked the streets and so on, and this looks old to me and tired, and
It still looks that way.
yeah.
No offense to anybody from Winnipeg, of course. My family's from Winnipeg.
That's
Love
why.
Winnipeg.
That's why I feel like I can say it.
Yeah.
I applied for a job. The only job I get was a roofer, and I don't like heights and roofing, And I didn't meet them. That morning, I was supposed to meet them to start the job. I decided, no, keep on going. And I had enough money left to take a train and go to Calgary. I was going to go to Vancouver, but I didn't have enough money.
Wow.
Yeah, so
And
I
it's
took
funny
a
when
train
you,
to Calgary.
it's funny when you think about things like that, because if Karl had enough money to go to Vancouver, CIR Realty wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Our business,
Or
our
I would've-
business doesn't exist
Or
because
I would have found you.
you had a
and we
little
would have
bit less.
sorted it out.
Yeah.
And I'd be living in
Yeah.
sunny Vancouver. I guess sunny Vancouver, that's probably
Just
not too bad.
quickly, when I arrived here, it was in October 1953. I arrived in Calgary. It was a beautiful day. It was the afternoon, and I arrived at the CN station, and I left my suitcase there and took my hand briefcase and walked from the CN station to the Palliser, to the Palliser Hotel downtown. I said, you have to buy a map. I need to buy a map so I know where I am.
Yes.
Yeah. So I did that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's how you found your way around and how it all started.
Yeah. And then I walked back to the station, retrieved my suitcase, but I had no place to go. I didn't know where I was sleeping that night.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
Oh, I was walking back. A taxi driver stopped, and he said, "Are you German?" I said, "Yeah." "Oh, do you need a place to stay?" I said, "Yeah."
He knew that?
"No,
But he asked. That's so
I
funny.
don't know." I walked I looked kind of lost, I guess.
Yeah. You looked German
And you would have
lost.
still been pretty young.
He said, come with me. Yeah, so I went with him, and we went to a house on 17th Avenue
Yeah.
and 10A Street. Nice house. And he says, there's a room for rent. and we talked to the landlord, and he interviewed me and says, yeah, okay, you can have that. I said, I have no money. That's okay, he says.
Well, didn't that work out well?
But yeah, he's a smart guy. He was a Jewish guy, a businessman, and Germans pay their bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
So tell us about now. So you arrived in Calgary. What did you do before you got into real estate? Tell us about that process about getting licensed, getting your real estate license. So we're probably skipping a few years here.
Yeah.
But did you get into house building first again, and then?
I was into construction, house building. I was a custom builder. Yeah. Now we're jumping ahead to 1983.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a very severe recession. House builders were going bankrupt. Real estate companies were closing down, one after the other.
Wow.
Yeah. The number of agents that we had, I think, dropped from 5,000 to 1,500.
You had
Wow.
5,000 agents in 1983 in the market?
We did. We were
Wow.
very, very busy. Before we were in a real busy time.
Well, I guess Calgary would have been that. You're right, because it would have been. You know what? A question, if you remember, it's like my parents spoke about this a long time ago. Do you remember what the mortgage rates were in 1983?
Yeah.
Because they were high, weren't they?
Yeah. They were 18 to 20%.
Credit card rates.
Interest rate.
Crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's insane.
So what?
So
Yeah, please.
So the construction business kind of died down. Okay, I wasn't busy either. At that time, I was a contractor. I was doing a lot of custom homes in the country, usually for the oil industry business. I had a good name there. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and. But I got bored doing nothing. I thought, why not check out the real estate, take the real estate course. So I inquired about the real estate course. They say, yes, you can do that, but you have to join a company. In order to do that, they have to sponsor you.
Yeah.
So I did. And I joined Royal Trust.
Royal Trust was the company you joined at the time.
That was the company, yeah. Yeah, that was a national company.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I joined and said, you might as well check out what makes the real estate industry tick and watch how they do things. So I was there observing things, listening to everybody. At that time, a real estate office was all one big space, and everybody could hear everybody.
Right, the bullpen style.
Yes, yes.
And
at that time as well, if an office was 15 or 20 agents, that was big. That was a good size office.
Wow.
how long were you with Royal Trust for?
A few months. Yeah.
And then what was next? Was it right to Canadian Independent Realty?
No, yeah. After that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So tell us about that transition.
That transition was so different. At Royal Trust, there was about 2 to 4 people that were doing some business out of 18.
Wow.
Yeah. And the rest, they were just complaining, And I had an interview with the owners of CIR at that time. And I knew right away, they wanted me really badly, And so I thought about it, but, and I watched how the realtors were working there. They were busy at CIR, and they were selling houses. at that time, there were a lot of foreclosures.
Right.
And people they didn't want to go into bankruptcy and lose their house. So they would sell it for $1,000. The $1,000 went to the realtor for fees, and nobody else got anything. Yeah.
Wow.
And then it was sold to investors who would rent it out.
And they would assume the mortgage.
Yeah.
And wow. Yeah. And go through that process.
And go further. Yeah.
So what is the process of how you took over the company?
Okay. So I was there. When I was at Royal Trust, I did make a sale. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And at CIR, I was approached by the two owners, and I give it some thought, and I thought, okay, I said I'll become a partner, silent partner. I want to learn this business, I want to do some sales.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that was fine. And then the money I was putting in, they wanted that personally. I said no.
They wanted the money from your real estate business?
They wanted the money I was investing in CIR.
Got it.
They wanted it.
Like to
And then-
spend just personally.
And then I got suspicious. Said they want to get out. That's what's happening. And so I said no. You're going to get each a small portion, and the rest we're going to invest and build and start another branch.
Yes.
And we started the South branch.
So this was downtown at the time.
That was downtown.
And then you guys opened up the South office.
Yeah. After I
What was the location at that time
the location?
of the South office? Yeah.
Oh, that was South Center.
It was, hey? That was in South Center
wow.
at that time.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
interesting.
were on the 7th floor, and then later we went downstairs. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's fantastic. So how long, so this was still 1983, was it? Or how long before you took over?
84.
It was 84.
Yeah.
And that was obviously,
When
that
I-
was risky because like you said, the economy was terrible and real estate was terrible.
Very risky.
Very risky.
Yeah.
What made you, in your mind, what made it worth the risk? Why were you excited to do it even though you knew it was risky?
You wouldn't believe this, but what I was thinking, I was really thinking about the real estate industry. I thought, something is wrong here. The way it's done, it was so archaic, I thought. It has to change.
This is so funny
It has
because
to change.
this is 1984.
Yeah.
And you're like, the real estate industry.
There's an opportunity here, I thought. It
Yeah.
has to change.
And today, people say that. It's so interesting that you
Yeah.
just see these cycles. Those of you that are worried about what's happening today, about technology coming in and
New
things like
business
that,
models.
new business models, things. What's interesting is that they've been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
And
Now-
you did lead the charge on that.
Going back to CIR, I noticed that there were, I don't know, the realtors were very happy that I joined as an owner.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I was approached by my partners, say, "Can you take over the accounting? You know more about this than we do, And I thought about it, and I said, "Okay." And then I arranged every check that had to be signed needed 2 signatures, and one of them always had to be mine.
Nice. Just the ultimate
And
check and
that's
balance.
else CIR wouldn't be here
Right.
if it wasn't that. It had to be one of theirs and one of mine.
So you knew that everything was proper
I could control everything.
Wow.
Yes.
That's smart.
And then I was approached by the partners. There's money in the bank. We need some money and so on. I said, that money we need more, not less. And it was tough. I said no.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you got to make sure the company is first.
Protect my investment. And then they begged me to buy them out, and take over. I said, I'm new at this. I don't know. I can't do this.
Huh. So you ended up obviously buying them out.
Eventually,
Eventually.
yeah.
What year was that?
Oh, it must have been, I think it was at least another year. One of the partners wanted to get out.
Right. So maybe 1985 around.
I bought them out, yeah. I bought him out, yeah. And then the other one was begging me to buy him out, but his wife wouldn't let him, and so on. He was a good manager when he wasn't drinking, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was about a few years, I would say, 3 years.
Right.
Till I bought the last one out, yeah.
So let me ask you this. So you noticed that the real estate industry was a bit archaic. You want to change it. Let me ask you, with CIR being new, how did you decide what was important to the realtors in terms of what decisions to make for the company to support the realtors at that time? What kind of things did you decide to do, or what was important to the realtors back then from CIR Realty standpoint?
What was important to them?
Yeah, to the realtors. Like what were, as a manager, as an owner, your position.
Things that you decided had to be done to make things better for the realtors.
First of all, most companies had payday for the realtors, maybe once a month or twice a month.
Right.
And I changed that to once a week.
Once a week or once a day?
Once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah.
Once a week.
Once a week, yeah.
And I thought that was necessary, yeah, and important to them, yeah. So they get their money quickly,
yeah.
Yeah. And then I changed this later to once a day. Once a day.
Was CIR the only company at that time that paid every day?
We were, you betcha.
That is
we were
so cool,
ahead
Karl.
of everybody.
Wow.
In that way.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
now it becomes the standard that
Oh,
but even still I see
So
some
you
companies pay once a week.
you would have set that standard by deciding to do that
Yeah.
long ago.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about?
And then when computers started to come in, we were the first company to have an computerized typewriter.
I remember hearing about that. The old
Yeah.
thing with a little screen on it and
big thing already. Yeah, with a little screen.
The first company.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And eventually first company to have really a virtual office.
Yeah.
1998, I know Ray had posted the forums up online and started there.
Yeah.
You know, lots of innovations.
Lots of innovation.
Yeah. What was?
And I was always thinking, and then one night I couldn't sleep, and I was thinking, we got to change the commission structure.
Right.
And I came up with a commission structure. And to sell it to the realtors, that wasn't easy, and so on. And I had a scheme where it was an 80-20 scheme where the company gets 20% and they get 80% of the commission. And that was unheard of, things like this.
Well, because what were other companies charging at that time?
They were charging 50% or more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
That's
50% or more.
That's amazing.
And the companies were doing the advertising. They had small ads in the hill. Small ads, usually 2 realtors' names had to be on there. Not just one,
Right.
2.
Huh. So
The realtors had very little control at that time in the old system. Very little.
The company had the broker and the owner had the control. The realtors just had to do what they were told.
No.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
so what worked well when people were joining CIR? Why were people joining? What was the appeal? What did you do? If you look back at your career and you were to say, these were a few things that we did really well that worked really well. Obviously, the commission structure would be one of them.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you can think of that was just like, we did this and people loved it? The payday you talked about.
Oh, yes.
When to do the pay. Is there anything else you can think of that you look back and say, yeah, we did that well and that worked well?
Yes, a lot of things worked well. Most companies, you had to pay for your coffee.
Oh, interesting. Really?
Yeah. I say that's silly.
No, and little things like that make a big difference because you feel nickel and dimed,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
And then when fax machines came out, a great thing, the owner's charges, the broker would charge $2 for each fax to use it.
$2.
$2.
That was a lot of money. Like that
was a lot of money.
That's a lot of money today. That's a lot of money back then too.
Yeah, they were expensive, mind you.
Oh, I bet.
They were $600 each, at that time. Yeah. And I bought 3 of them, and one for each office, and the faxes were for free. I
Yeah.
didn't charge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those decisions would have been very important to realtors.
That was always unheard of,
Yeah.
So the profit margin was very small. It didn't matter. When I was alone there, sometimes I didn't get paid. When I had these partners, they didn't get paid either. They had to wait.
I bet they loved that.
Yeah. There's a saying in the business when you're an entrepreneur, make sure you pay yourself first. I didn't. I paid myself last. I made sure all the bills are paid. And I never wanted to borrow money at the bank. A lot of brokers had to borrow money to keep going.
Right.
I never borrowed, ever.
That's been one of the things
Yeah.
CIR defining is debt-free for years. And the second that I came on to CIR, we were immediately talking about that, and then we saw brokerages, going down, and we've seen it recently. You were talking about it back then, but we saw it recently.
Quite a few
Discovers,
brokerages
Royal
close.
Pages,
Yeah.
Residential One. Like in modern times here, we've seen tons of that happening,
Yeah.
and people get into trouble financially all the time. And that stability, people forget about it when there's millions of commissions that are left unpaid. That's something that you set CIR up for success and instilled in your sons that prudent financial mentality.
Yeah.
I know that Ron has that hugely.
Yeah.
And we're always trying, and it's that balance between, like you said, we invested in new things, the new fax machines to stay modern, but also balanced it out with financial stability.
Well, and one of the things that I know that Ron is so cautious over, and he takes a lot of that from you, is he never wants to charge the realtors more for anything if it's not necessary. He is so conscientious to say, I don't want all of these line items on somebody's bill. I don't want to feel like we always
fee,
have.
yeah.
Well, and lots of the big franchises have your franchise fee, your technology fee, your so many things that the broker is trying to put their hand in a pocket for the realtors.
Yeah.
And I think right now, because of your influence, I know that our whole team is very cautious to say, we know how hard it is to be a realtor and how expensive it is. And we need to do our best, like you did, to say, we want to make it easy for them to do business and give them what they need. And sometimes if that means your profit margin isn't this big, that's okay, because you have to take care of the realtors if you want to stay in business.
Yeah. By the time I started in the real estate, I had already a career of construction and home building, and I was financially, I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go into real estate to make money. I did it for adventure again. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love.
And I like the realtors, the mentality, the enthusiasm they had, and they needed that to keep going. And I enjoyed that. It was a big change in my career, to do real estate versus construction.
Yeah.
It was different.
Oh, that is interesting.
Hugely different. Yeah.
So
that was in my favor. I wasn't
Money hungry.
I wasn't, and I wasn't under stress about money. No, I had that. This was good for me. Yeah.
Totally. And because you can make bad decisions if you're doing it for the
the
wrong
money.
reason.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's so tempting when you handle a lot of money. It's like a bank. Money comes in, money goes out, and your general account is empty, and the trust account has a lot of money. Why not borrow some?
Oh gosh.
You don't see that so much today, but it was happened then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a scary, scary trap, and very illegal, obviously, today.
Yeah.
Some of the best lessons come from the mistakes. What mistakes did you make through the process, and what did you learn from them?
Oh, I always try to learn from mistakes.
Yeah.
I think success is good, and empowers you, but mistakes teaches you lessons. Yeah. In real estate itself, my first listing, I was with Royal Trust. I listed a house from a friend. It was an estate. And I thought, I'm going to get as much money as I can. And I listed it, and it was too high. And eventually it expired. I did lots of open houses, and it expired, and somebody else got the listing and sold it at where it should sold.
And was that your first listing?
That was the very first one, and that was the last one that didn't sell. It never would happen again. I learned a lesson. I would never take a listing that wouldn't sell.
Nice. You know what? That is so smart. In the last couple of months, I've had so many realtors in my office who are completely broke because they've taken on 10 listings, and all of the people, because prices have gone down just a little bit, but the clients want all this money for their homes, and the realtors know that the price is wrong, but they want the listing so badly, but then they pay for the photography and the measurements, and they do all of this work, and then they expire and they don't get any money for it because they're taking listings at prices that...
It wears them down.
It wears them down.
It wears them down.
So you only did that once and you never did it again?
That was a lesson I learned. I wanted to do good for my friend, and I didn't, They had to go to Block Brothers, sold it. Somebody from Block Brothers. I don't know if you remember.
No, Block Brothers, no. That was before my time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I thought, no, that this went the right way. That's the way it should go.
Yeah.
Another lesson I learned, my first buyer, I was showing houses to a buyer. He just got divorced, and I picked out 3 houses I showed him, and I said, this is a good house. It's been renovated and everything. And there was another one that had spots in the ceilings. Some of the windows were going blind, and I pointed that out. And he said, he decided to buy that one. I said, why? He says, I just going through divorce, I need some work. I can do this work.
So it kept him busy.
Yeah, to keep myself busy. I can fix this, he says. So that's the house he bought.
Interesting.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta learn a lesson, be flexible.
Yeah.
You know, they talk in, there's a course, Ninja Selling, that we teach now, or we bring in the instructors, and one of the things that they say is, when you walk into a listing, don't be like, oh, this hideous carpet, like we can do that, because they give an example where all of a sudden the buyer turned around and said, or he was write up an offer and said, you know what, and we'll also try to get you a little bit of credit for that carpet. And they're like, oh gosh, Don, like, why would we do that? We love that carpet.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, oh.
You just never know.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's really good. Right now, so to give some advice to all of the realtors at CIR
Yeah.
watching this video now, we are by no means in a recession like you in, when 1983, 1984.
Oh, that was terrible.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people who have been in the business, call it the last 5, 6, 7 years, and who never experienced that, what's happening in Calgary now for them is the worst they've seen it, right? Because sales are down, prices are going a little bit. So for them, this is bad. We're in a bit of a recession mentality. So some advice for them, back when you were selling real estate and you started CIR, what were the realtors doing in that time who were really succeeding, even though the economy was doing poorly?
These realtors were succeeding. They had a lot of drive, and they showed a lot of enthusiasm, and worked hard too. And they just had their mental attitude was positive.
So true.
That I know, positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't dwell on the bad things.
No.
You know, I'll never forget, I want to share this story.
Yeah.
I walked into the office, and it was the day after the election in 2015, where we had a change of government here in Alberta, which a lot of people were afraid of.
Yeah.
And this is not a political thing, because vote for whoever, and a new election was just announced. But you had said to me when I walked into the office, and Karl is amazing. Big shout out, because Karl still comes into the office all the time, has coffee. We see him around all the time.
Yeah.
And you had said to me that day, and I said, wow, like, I don't know how this is going to go or what's going to happen here. And you said, well, I drove in this morning and trucks were still on the road. The sun still came up. And that positive mental attitude was there. And I had to chuckle to myself. I was like, oh yeah, the motor of the world didn't stop overnight.
No.
Like, things still happen. And we forget about that.
It still happen, yeah.
Yeah, and you look on the MLS and houses are still being sold, and these realtors that got in this funk didn't put themselves out there, and then the neighbor lists their house. And you're like, why didn't I get that listing? Well, you were too busy wallowing in sorrow, to go out there and get it.
Yeah.
What other things did you see back then? Realtors obviously weren't online generating leads. Was it still friends and family? Where were some of the deals coming from?
Calling, door knocking, or?
Friends and family is, that's something that didn't happen to me. My friends and family said, Karl, we respected you very well when you were in construction and a contractor. What the heck are you doing in real estate?
It's true, we see that sometimes.
Yeah.
So how did you go out and get your own new business?
My own new business, I did open houses and so on, and then I got a buyer from there, and then there was an electrician friend who wanted to buy a house, and then I thought, he wanted something in the Northwest. And I went to, what was the district called? Anyway, Beddington, yeah.
Yes.
Beddington, yeah. So he wanted to buy in Beddington, and I looked at every house that was for sale, every house. And I picked one out I thought he would like. And it was in the Beddington Estate area. And I said, I showed it to them, and they liked it very much. They couldn't afford it, you know. And then I phoned him up a few days later, you know. He said, yeah, Karl, we wanted to tell you we can't afford it, so we want to abandon. We're not going to buy a house. I said, would you buy it for $96,000? Oh, yeah, we would do that. I said, well, let's see what we can do. And then I had a meeting with them, a couple without children, yeah. And they got so excited. And we decided to make an offer of $105,000.
Right.
It was for sale for $120,000, yeah. And they end up buying it for $115,000. And they lived there all their lives there.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I think she just lives there. He passed away, yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. It was a nice house.
So, Karl, in addition to
So you also have to encourage them without pressure, you know.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right, just give it, you know, put something out there. Like you never know. Like you never know how it's going to go.
You never know how it goes, yeah. And then I got some listings from the bank too, the odd one, yeah.
How did you meet the people at the bank?
I had my money there.
You just went in. No, I love it. I bet you all of you have money at a bank.
Yeah.
And have you walked in and talked to them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just looking for the opportunities in front of you.
They offered me sometimes, you know, the odd one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's outstanding. So to wrap things up here, let's back to, you know, we talked about some successful realtors back then during the slow times. In addition to mental attitude and a positive mental attitude and having that optimism, what advice would you give someone today to survive a slower market?
The same. Yeah. Another thing I did, when I, for instance, when I got a listing and people cooperated and listened to my advice, listed the house where I thought it would sell. And it sold within days often, you know, within days. And they were excellent. They cooperated, the seller cooperated so well with me. I gave them, I reduced the commission without being asked. I did that. Yeah, but I told them, don't advertise this. I don't want to get a reputation to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
But you didn't do that at the
just
beginning
that.
of the listing. You did that at the end of it if they worked really well?
At the end, yeah.
Oh, interesting. So they thought they were signing up with you for full commissions, but at
Oh,
the
yes.
end,
Oh,
if
they
they made
did.
it very, very easy to sell the
It
home.
was a surprise to them. I said, you've been very good. Before you know it, I got recommendations.
Absolutely. People would be so eager to refer you after that.
Yeah,
And
but I
nice-
said, don't advertise this. This is not what I do, you know.
Yeah.
What's so interesting, you did it at the end.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And just to be, say thank you to them. Yeah.
That's so great.
I love that.
That's
I
so
love
great.
That's, it's hard to do, you know, to take money from yourself and give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
But it was so easily earned
Yes.
in this particular instance.
People just want to give it back to you. Like people just want to help you out again.
Yeah, I thought it's insane to take that much money.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you've definitely made a lot of, I think one of the reasons that you've been successful and CIR has been so successful is because you really instilled a culture of giving back and not being greedy and looking at the person you're serving and saying, you know, we're here to do good by you.
Yeah.
And I think even in that circumstance, that's exactly what you did, which is a value the whole company now has today. So that's pretty cool, Karl.
Yeah.
Karl, thank you so much for joining us, telling us a bit about the past, and sharing us so much wisdom. And there's so many gold nuggets that come from this, and because you've lived through even tougher times that were today than there are today.
Oh yes.
And still grew and still found growth.
Well, I made it work for me.
You did.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And if anybody sees Karl in the office, come say hi, ask him a question. You love chatting with your realtors, so you're there if anyone wants to pick his brain too.
Yeah, happen less and less now, but it's okay.
Oh, you're still there quite a bit.
You can ask me anytime.
I know, and we've we use that now and then. So that's awesome, Karl. Thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you, Karl.
Oh, we're done, are we?
We're done in 1 second. 1 second.
Oh yeah.
Everyone, don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and you can download us on Soundcloud or wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, iTunes, Google Play.
Just search for Agent Pursuit, and all of this content can be found very easily on any social media.
Awesome. All the best, and have a great day.